guys, welcome back. Today I want to talk about some Halo Infinite campaign DLC because it's been a while since we talked about Halo Infinite's campaign and the prospect of what comes next, and we also have a little bit of news about it, possibly a bit of news about campaign DLC that is actually potentially really exciting, so let's dive into it. First off though, I do just want to have a quick rundown on the state of the Halo universe post Halo Infinite because, like I said, it's been a while since we talked about anything to do with Halo Infinite's campaign or the lore, so let's take a look at where the galaxy stands as it goes right now. The Harbinger has been defeated, but Atriox was able to free the Endless. The banished High Command were defeated on Zeta Halo, however, Atriox is still alive, and the banished still hold much of Zeta Halo, presumably. Lasky and the Infinity Crew are still missing in action, they were nowhere to be seen in Infinite, and I'm going to assume that their whereabouts and what they've been up to are going to be covered in the Rubicon Protocol, which is an upcoming book. The same goes for Locke, who was on Operation Breaker, Tanaka, Vale, and then also Blue Team as well, who were off on their own mission. We know nothing about the state of that mission, or what it even was. And then moving a little bit further away in the galaxy, the Spirit of Fire and her crew are still on the Ark fighting the Banished, and Anders is still on Installation 09, God knows where in the galaxy. Neither of the Halo Wars plotlines have been resolved just yet. So now that we're all back up to date with what's going on in the Halo universe, because it's been a while, let's talk about campaign DLC. Now obviously the thing that we all talk about when it comes to campaign DLC is Halo the Endless. Shortly after Infinite's campaign released, Microsoft filed a trademark for some kind of product that is literally titled Halo the Endless. So recently, on June 22nd, an update was made to this trademark with the US Patent and Trademark Office, the USPTO. Now, I'm going to be honest, I've scoured these documents, these updated documents, to look for anything different or to see if there's anything in there that could give us some information. I'm going to be honest, my only legal training has been by watching Better Call Saul, which isn't the best training, so I wasn't able to find anything that really stood out in these documents, but then again, if anyone out there watching happens to have legal expertise, then let me know if there's anything in there that's worth talking about. The only real updates seem to be that they've just reiterated that Halo the Endless could be a form of downloadable content, but there's still like hundreds of different tags in this document that could describe what it is. There are so many definitions for what Halo the Endless could be in this document, so it doesn't really narrow it down, although I still am pretty adamant that this is what comes next after Infinite's main story. Whether that's DLC, whether that's a sequel game, who knows, but the title kind of indicates that. But that wasn't all the news that could potentially pertain to campaign DLC. We also have something that is actually very, very exciting. Recently, Paul Bertone, a Bungie legend, has come back to work on Halo and joined 343. Paul's worked at Bungie for a long time. He was on the design team for Halo Combat Evolved, so yes, that long. He was a design lead on Halo 2. He was the lead mission designer for Halo 3, and in particular, he designed Sierra 117, doing the scripting and designing of the overall mission, and then he was also design director for ODST and Reach. And then after Reach, he left Bungie, did a bunch of other stuff, went to work at Highwire Games with Marty and a bunch of other Bungie legends, and now has found his way back to Halo, taking a technical design director job at 343. Now, I know nothing about game dev positions, but technical design director to me sounds like quite a high up and serious position, which I would expect given his like 20 plus years of expertise in gaming. And I gotta say, the fact that Joe and Paul, not only two massive Bungie legends, but also two of the main figureheads behind ODST, the fact that they're working on Halo again together is really exciting. And of course, when it comes to talking about campaign DLC, we gotta just touch on these two legends briefly. Like I said, they were both figureheads on ODST, and given Infinite's degree of similarity to ODST with the open world, I wouldn't be too surprised to see these two team up again on some form of campaign DLC that leverages that open world and also their expertise with open worlds from ODST to make something truly special. At least I can hope. Of course, the dream is a DLC written by Joe Staten with Paul also working as a higher up on the project. Who knows though, that's just a pipe dream for now, but I just find it very interesting that there are more Bungie legends returning to work on Halo. It's going to be interesting to see where that goes. So for the next part of the video, I just want to discuss for a little bit why I think campaign DLC for this game and for the franchise overall is such an important thing and why I think a lot of priority and emphasis should be put on it. As you look at Halo throughout the years, even going back to the Bungie years, you look at how Halo games have been sustained after their release, it's all been very multiplayer focused. Besides, of course, Halo Wars 2 being the one exception, the emphasis has just been on sustaining the multiplayer and keeping people returning to the multiplayer. However, with campaign DLC, it's a perfect opportunity to do that, but also for the lore and kind of campaign community, who typically aren't really given any degree of content besides when a game first releases. There's an opportunity there to bolster a massive new subsect of fans to return to your game. Like I said, campaign fans only really have content that is catered to them at the launch of a game. As soon as they've played that, it's then a waiting game for the next game to come out to deliver the same thing again, and the cycle just repeats. I'd also hazard a guess that there are quite a lot of people out there who only play Halo for the campaign. They play it for Master Chief, for Cortana, for the Covenant, for the Flood, for Banished, whatever. And as soon as their content is over, as soon as they've experienced it, like I said, they've just got to wait for years and years until the next game, and with campaign DLC, it's a perfect chance to have those players become recurring players. Now, with how poorly Infinite is performing in terms of its population and live service, this game needs to be trying pretty much anything to try and grow itself again, and I think it goes without saying that lore and campaign experiences would be a fantastic new way to do that. We are seeing 343 try this to a degree with the fractures and also the live service stuff. There have been little bits of lore that have been kind of threaded into the live service system, but so far they've been very minor, nothing major, nothing to really even come close to matching a campaign or even a playable experience. Granted, there have been leaks that there's some changes coming to the Academy with the next live service event called Alpha Pack, but we don't know what they're going to be. We don't even know if we're going to get a PvE mode of any kind of that. They really haven't tapped into that potential enough. And over the years, I've seen the immense potential, as I'm sure we all have, of consistently released campaign and story experiences. I mean, I think the two greatest examples of this are Call of Duty Zombies and Destiny. Both those games are, mostly at least, fantastic at making sure that single player and narrative and story fans always have something, some kind of experience on the horizon to get excited for and to bring them back to the game. And it goes without saying, but it's done wonders for them as well. I think that constant cycle of always having a new story releasing, digesting it and talking about it with friends in the community and breaking it down, and then using the seeds that story has laid to speculate about what might be happening next or what the next experience may be, is just such an untapped experience that I think Halo could absolutely excel in. We've always had that to a degree with the main campaigns, but I think because of how big the gap is between those campaigns, it's never really been enough to kind of sustain the community long term. People always come back when a new game comes out, but after a few months of that game being out, they're onto something new, and I really think that Halo should be trying to keep those players. Just throw back real quick to December when the campaign released, right? Remember how hyped we were for the campaign, how much we were digesting it, breaking it down, and then taking the bits of it and theorizing about what might come next. Imagine that on a yearly scale, or half-yearly scale if I want to get a bit optimistic, but realistically, I would say a campaign DLC every year would be more fitting. Imagine getting that every year and knowing that every year we're going to have an experience kind of on par with that to look forward to. The wonders that would do for the community and for the game would be fantastic. It'd also be a fantastic way to kind of reinvent Halo's storytelling as well, both in the way that it's told and in the way that the story is delivered to the universe, but also in its cadence as well. 20 years of Halo's story being told on a per-game basis would be over. We could experience so much more of the universe so much more frequently. For literally, at this point, Halo's entire existence, we've been pretty much just reliant on comics and novels and stuff like that to act as frequent sources of lore and story. And those things can absolutely still exist alongside campaign DLC. They absolutely have a place, but having campaign DLC be the #1 frequent source of story in between the major entries like the major campaign releases and new games would be great. And I think it goes without saying, but more people are going to experience a story if it's in a game over a book, which in turn allows them to do more significant things with the stories, because I always feel like with Halo's books, because of obviously the fact that Halo is a game series and not a book series, the books always have to tread lightly in not going too far or not doing anything too crucial or too important to the main story, because then you run into the issue of people having to do their homework and reading books before playing a game, which isn't good. but with campaign DLC, I feel like you can loosen up a little bit and you can have more significant events happen more frequently. I also feel like as well, because Halo's main stories only come around like every 3 to 6 years, there are so many parts of the universe that absolutely deserve the limelight that don't really get the opportunity to have the limelight because of how rare main stories are. I mean, I've made God knows how many videos about this at this point, but like an Arthas side story, an Arbiter side story, a Flood story, ODST story, Banished story, like the list is endless. The amount of things that Halo's story could be doing, but it doesn't really get the chance to because there's only a main entry every 3 to 6 years, is massive, and that's where campaign DLC can really, really excel. I feel like I'm definitely not the first to speculate about this, but I really do feel like part of the reason they went for an open world campaign with Infinite is so they can constantly expand it over time without having to create something entirely from scratch. Were the campaign linear in a traditional sense, I feel like they would have to create entirely new areas with each campaign unless they were to completely reuse geometry, which would get really repetitive because of the linear aspects of it. However, with the game being open world, there are kind of inherent dead spaces in that world. There are areas in Infinite's open world that aren't really used for anything, at least right now. I mean, for example, this massive like Halo 2 Ascension like spire still doesn't have any kind of use. This is the kind of thing that I can imagine like awakening and opening up with campaign DLC or something. There are areas in the world that, yeah, in the normal campaign don't really seem to do much, but you can go back retroactively and change that with DLC. Doing that is much easier than creating entire scenarios from scratch like you'd have to with a linear campaign. Obviously, we still need new areas as well. I mean, biomes is the biggest thing. We still need tundras, we need deserts, we need jungles, forests, and all that good stuff, but I think having an open world campaign kind of eases the pressure off in terms of the amount of work you have to do to create a new campaign experience compared to if the game were linear. I don't know, man, at this point, I'm just really, really gagging for some new campaign lore experience for Infinite. The game's been out now for 8 months almost, and we've had pretty much nothing besides the entrenched stuff. Like, maybe I was getting a bit too hopium-filled here, but I was kind of expecting or hoping for like a campaign DLC tease at Summer Game Fest, and obviously we didn't get it, so who knows when we're going to get it, but I just really, really want some more campaign stuff for this game, because I still really enjoyed Infinite's campaign. I've seen some people souring to it. I mostly haven't done. I still can say that I really enjoyed it, and I want more. I just hope that the leaks that are going around at the moment, granted, they are leaks, of course, but the leaks that we're not going to get anything till like 2025 aren't true, because that's a long wait. Like, 4 years from launch is a long wait for something like this, especially when you end the game on at least like a pseudo cliffhanger like Infinite did. I feel like there's so much more left to be done, and it's clear that there was a lot of stuff cut from the main campaign, and I'm just fingers crossing eternally that that stuff is going to reawaken as a part of campaign DLC very soon. With this game having such a large emphasis on live service, I just hope that that's not just for multiplayer, and that lore and campaign fans don't get hung out to dry waiting for like 10 years for the next game. I just seriously hope that we get something soon, man. Please, please. So yeah, sorry if that video was like a little bit all over the place. I just kind of wanted to make a video about Infinite Campaign and campaign DLC given the news, because honestly, I miss talking about Infinite's campaign. Last December, when I was making like theory videos and breakdown videos all the time, that was my favorite month on YouTube. I absolutely would love to be doing that all the time, but there's just no content to be doing that with right now. So it's one of the many reasons why I want the campaign DLC. Like I said, we have had the live service story with Season 2 about Erratus and stuff, but I'm gonna be honest, like, the more I've gone back and watched that cutscene, or I guess those 2 cutscenes, they're a bit mid. They're not like anything too exciting. It's very much like a tell, not show kind of thing. And Halo has traditionally been the complete opposite. It's been show, not tell. So I'm hoping they kind of improve that with the feature cutscenes. We are getting another event on July 19th called Alpha Pack. So fingers crossed we get a new cutscene with that actually shows and just doesn't just tell. And obviously, you know that I'll be covering it on this channel when that comes out. So if you haven't done yet, then hit the sub button. But yeah, I'm going to round this one out here, because this is a little bit of a messy video, but I just wanted to talk about Infinite's campaign and DLC again, because like I said, I do genuinely miss it a lot. So yeah, if you haven't done so yet, make sure you check out the branch out content. Of course, the videos are on my channel. I'm loving making those videos, and thank you all for supporting them. I really appreciate it. And with that said, let's round this video out here. I want to give a massive thank you to my amazing patrons for the support over there, as per usual. Thank you all so much. And thank you all so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I gotta get used to doing finger guns standing up. I'm not used to this. And I'll catch you all in the next one.